All right, let's get right into a critical legal battle that could seriously change how we all think about the gig economy. This is a story that plays out in courtrooms, but honestly, it affects anyone who's ever ordered food right to their door. So think about it for a second. That person who brings you your food, are they an employee or are they an independent contractor? It sounds like a pretty simple question, doesn't it? But the answer has huge, massive implications for millions of workers and the billion-dollar companies they work for.
And this right here, this is the core of the whole debate. On one side, you've got everything that comes with being an employee, job security, health insurance, all those protections under the law. But on the other side, you've got the world of the contractor. Yeah, that means more freedom, more flexibility, but it also means you're shouldering all the risk yourself. This single distinction is what this entire case is all about.
So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll follow the wild journey of one driver's case against Foodpanda. It's like a 3-round legal boxing match. And trust me, it has more twists and turns than a delivery route on a busy Friday night.
Okay, let's meet our fighters. In one corner, we have the driver, a man named Guo Ziqing. And in the other corner, the tech giant, Foodpanda. But their fight isn't just about a single contract. Nope. It's a battle over what work itself even means in this digital age.
The whole case really boils down to this one legal idea, subordination, or 从属性as it's written in the court documents. What it really means is how much control does the company actually have over the worker? That was the key question the courts had to figure out.
So the fight begins in the Taipei District Court. And let me tell you, this first round did not go well for the driver. Not at all.
So in November of 2022, the verdict comes down. The court sides completely with Foodpanda. It rules that the driver is an independent contractor, not an employee. Round 1 was a clear loss for the driver.
So you're probably asking, how did the court come to that conclusion? Well, they used a classic 3-part test. First, they looked at personal subordination. Basically, could the company tell the driver how to do his job? The court said no. He chose his own hours and could reject orders. Then, economic subordination. Did he depend on Foodpanda for his livelihood? Again, the court said no. He paid for his own gas and phone, and he even worked for their competitor, Uber Eats. And finally, organizational subordination. Was he really integrated into the company? The court just saw it as a series of one-off tasks. From this traditional view, Foodpanda's argument looked pretty solid.
But the driver didn't back down. He appealed, taking the fight up to the Taiwan High Court. And this is where the whole story takes a very sharp turn.
In what was a pretty stunning reversal, the High Court completely flipped the script. They essentially said, we don't really care what the contract is called, we're going to look at what the job is actually like every day. And their conclusion? Yes, this driver is, in fact, an employee.
And the High Court's reasoning was built on this really powerful idea. They identified a new kind of control, one that doesn't come from a human boss, but from an algorithm. They even gave it a name, indirect coercive force.
So how does this app as the boss actually work? Well, the court pointed to a few key things. First, drivers had to follow these super detailed step-by-step instructions from the app for every single delivery. Then there's the rating system, which basically acted like a performance review that could get you suspended. And the bonus system was a big one. To get those bonuses, which are a huge part of their pay, drivers had to accept 85% of orders. So sure, you could say no, but the system made sure you'd feel the pain if you did. It might look like freedom, but the court saw it as control, just hidden in the code. And then the court found what you could call the smoking gun. In Foodpanda's own records, their bank transfers, their tax documents, they labeled the driver's payments not as fees, but as 薪资. And that word means one thing, salary. So, a huge comeback for the driver in the High Court. That should be the end of it, right? Case closed? Well, not quite. The whole drama had one more unexpected twist when it got all the way up to the Supreme Court. So, the Supreme Court issues this landmark opinion. And while it was a massive victory, it was a victory for the legal principle more than a simple win for this specific driver. Okay, so the Supreme Court did something really important here. It agreed with the High Court's reasoning. It confirmed that, yes, these app-based systems can create indirect control. And yes, these drivers show a high degree of subordination and should be seen as employees. That's now the law of the land. But It sent this specific case back down to the lower court, and the reason was a technicality. The high court had failed to properly look into a separate claim from Foodpanda that they had fired the driver for having a suspended license.
So after all that back and forth, what does it all mean for the big picture? Well, this ruling has consequences that go way beyond just one driver or one company.
This quote from a legal analyst really just nails it. Before this, you had different courts coming to different conclusions. It was messy. But this Supreme Court opinion created a powerful and, more importantly, a unified legal standard for how to see these gig economy workers.
So when we boil it all down, the message from the courts is loud and clear. The reality of the job is what matters, not the label you stick on the contract. And control can be subtle. It can be woven right into the code of an app. This whole thing shows that our laws are finally starting to catch up to the digital age, and it sets a really important standard for the entire gig economy.
And this whole legal journey leaves us with one last big, provocative question to think about. If the algorithm is the boss, then who's really in charge? Who's writing the rules? And maybe more importantly, who's responsible for protecting the workers? This case has given us part of the answer, but you can bet this debate is far from over.